Welcome back to the Beyond the Plan, the podcast where we go deeper than timelines and the budgets to uncover what really drives project success.
What is a collaborative framework? Collaboration is a mindset and it's a behavior that can work across all sort of aspects.
Today's guest is Mark Simister, a former member of British Army, 10 Global Program Director, whose career has taken him from drilling boreholes at the Buckingham Palace to leading multi-billion-dollar infrastructure frameworks at Sydney Water. Mark has spent over 30 years proving that the future of complex infrastructure delivery isn't adversarial contracts, it is the collaborative framework. We unpack why mega projects fail, on the fragmented risk-averse approaches, and how trust, joint risk management, and early alignment can transform the outcomes. You will hear the inside story behind Sydney Water's Partnering for Success model, the lessons from building culture that lasts, and the small but practical steps organizations can take right now to embed collaboration into their projects.
If you haven't been working in a collaborative framework, it is something that's nerve-wracking. So you've got to invest.
If you want to know how to deliver mega programs that actually create long-term value for clients, communities, and the people who build them, this is an episode for you, and you don't want to miss this. Afternoon, Mark. It's great to have you on the show here today with us as a part of our industry podcast, Beyond the Plan. I have known you for many years
long time
now, and since 2012 when we were working at Hatch with Oricon guys and the rest of the crew. Believe it or not, still some of the guys are, we're having catch up and having, it's great. But yourself, tell us a bit more about Mark Simister. Who's Mark Simister? I don't go back like to the British Army times, but you lead the way, man. Go for it.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I mean, the thing that we've both got in common is the time we both spent in the army. I know you were Aussie, and you were in the engineers, and I was in logistics, so Royal Corps of Transport in the British Army. And our motto was "We bend them and you mend them." So I'll say thank you for your service there, my friends,
indeed.
helping us out. But I spent a few years in the army and had a great experience. And I think it was on the back of that I really got into project management. I went to did geology after the army at university. And that took me to Africa as a hydrogeologist. So I spent a couple of years working out there in the oil and gas fields, and then came back to the UK as a hydrogeologist, still working with Thames Water in London.
Right.
And great time, really good experience. I like to say I drilled a borehole for the Queen in Buckingham Palace, which was lovely, and worked at the Millennium Dome. And it was whilst doing that sort of got me interested in really getting into project management. And there was a great opportunity to work, because once you're in a water company, you get it's a great environment, because you don't join the water sector to make a lot of money. You join it because it feels good. It's about public good. It's about public health.
Of course.
Protecting the environment. And they're all sort of things that I'm really keen and passionate in. So joining that sector was fantastic. And getting the chance to work on some amazing projects in London was terrific. And that sort of took me on a bit of a journey into, there was an issue in terms of leakage within London. And I worked with a team to come up with a solution to how can we get Thames back on track with its leakage strategy. And that took me into, and we came up with a plan that was to replace 10% of London's distribution network in 5 years. Enormous plan. Would have caused huge disruption to London. So we had to work in a way that was going to be collaborative, engaging with all the supply chain, engaging with the councils and the emergency services, the road authorities to get something. And it became a blueprint for how to work in collaboration across the sector. Like I say, not with just the supply chain, but with all other stakeholders and the public as well. So it was a delightful time. But that really showed me what program management was all about. Because, this is a multi-billion-dollar program over many years. And they're still doing it, actually. so they're still replacing pipes in London. Anyway, but that took me into program management and being collaborative and working with. I started working with NEC contracts back in 1996.
Wow.
So, yeah, NEC3 it was called back then, New Engineering Contract.
Yeah.
And it's still called NEC, New Engineering Contract, 30 odd years later. But anyway, NEC4 now. And but a great experience. And on the back of that, brought my family and I down to Australia. In
best place, isn't it?
Yeah, mate, absolutely fantastic. And it really just struck a chord. It's always sunny. Maybe it's been raining a fair bit in Sydney recently, but
Less
apart
than
from
London, to be fair.
yeah. No, you're dead right, my friend. And so we came here in 2007, and you all became citizens. So now my kids are all Aussies, and my wife's we're all here, and well and truly settled and having a great time. But it was getting the chance again across working for MWH at the time. Now there's part of Stantec, and working in the program management and consulting area there with all of the major utilities across Australia and Asia Pacific. So getting up into Singapore and across into Brunei and over into New Zealand, working on these major infrastructure programs, and which again, it really was a feel-good factor, meant you're doing something different. You're working with a range of individuals, you're working with a range of teams, different cultures, different societies, different contractors. Really got us to know John Holland, Len Lease, Abergeldy, all of these sort of, all these players that and Downer, and then the major consultancies as well. So AECOM, Oricon, got to know a whole broad range of teams. And I even spent time in New Zealand working on earthquake recovery after the earthquake in Christchurch.
That was massive.
Yeah, huge. And spent a couple of years there working with teams and doing disaster recovery up in Brisbane, up in Queensland in the Fitzroy region.
Of course.
So again, it's all been about putting together big major programs for public good.
Sure.
And that's brought me through, more recently, was joined Sydney Water about 10 years ago to assist with an infrastructure program they were delivering there. And it was struggling in its integration and getting things going at the beginning, and so that's why I was brought on board to try and bring a bit of a change to the culture. And Kevin Young was an amazing leader of City Water, and he really did give us the mandate to change. And he was, his vision was exceptional, and how he drove things forward and directed where we wanted to go as a business was great. And that gave me the opportunity to work with them, work with the team and the rest of the Sydney Water across the enterprise to look at a new way of doing things, and then work with the supply chain to say, look, we've got stuff we want to do for our community.
Sure.
You guys are there to deliver. You want to make a profit. We want you to make a profit. We want you to keep working with us and think we're a good place to work and engage. And we want to get great value out of what we're doing. So we put together, and we'll do books, don't we, at the end? So, anyway, so there's a book all about the work we did at Sydney Water as well, which is terrific. But but the whole change process that we worked our way through over 4 years transformed how infrastructure was being delivered by the business, and it was a real delight to be part of it. And like I say, hats off to everybody, all the contractors, all the supply chain, the consultants, and the suppliers, and the agencies and the local authorities that we work with to turn this around and put in place something that was exceptional in its delivery. But there became a point, I think it was around about 2018, when we were looking forward at the scale of Sydney Water's program to come, and we knew what was in place wasn't quite going to be able to cut the mustard to be delivering. I think we were looking at it was going to be delivering at least 4 billion, maybe 10 billion over the next 10 years. So that's why we had to embark on saying, we recognise what we're doing is okay, but this is a bigger scale again. So we've got to do something different. Hats off to Kevin, and then Rock, who came in afterwards as well, Rock Chiru. I think Rock's first day was signing the contract for our new framework that we put in place. And it was called Partnering for Success, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit as we go through here. And P4S was all about taking, it's 30 years now when I look back on it, been involved in infrastructure. And, at the time, 26 years, gave me the chance to really consolidate and pull in the experiences and learnings I gathered from some amazing people that I had the chance to go and work with. And, my time at MWH was the university they'd set up, and guys like Marshall Davitt, terrific guys to go and be engaged with. And the learnings you get from being able to work across the globe. And here was a chance at a water company in Australia to go and bring all of that learning and to really, really make something special. And that's what Partnering for Success became. And so over a couple of years, it was developing the business to be ready and prepared to take on this new framework, and then go through the entire procurement process. So in 2018, we awarded the planning framework so they could get everything ready for our regional consortia to come on board. We awarded that in, 2018, so they had a year to get ready. 2019 was when we awarded the regional consortia, so 3 consortia, north, west and south. We haven't got an eastern region because that's the ocean. So there you go. That's my standard joke. I always have that one. And so anyway, so we got that thing awarded in 2019. And the thing about it was built upon collaboration. It was all about efficiency. It was all about getting best value. And it was about performance. We really wanted the performance to be not just about the money and delivering the projects, but through bringing along maturity of how City Water delivers and how the entire community can benefit from the work we're doing. So a lot of things were put in there like legacy, Indigenous participation, bringing on apprentices and getting university graduates, making sure all of our supply chain was involved in that. And it really took City Water to the front end of infrastructure globally with the establishment of the utilisation of NEC contracts as the standard form of contract for every single project the City Water delivers now. And everyone was nervous, I'll be honest with you, at the beginning about using it because I didn't understand it, didn't know what it was, and it was alien to using GC21 or any bespoke contracts. But it was a lot of work to get the hearts and minds in the right place. But when we did, everyone suddenly recognised how easy it is to operate, how easy, contracts written in plain English, where the second clause in it is 10.2, says everyone must operate in a spirit of mutual trust and cooperation. So it tells you, it's written there on the tin what to go and do and how to operate. And, and that framework was put together at a tough old time. It was going into COVID. So we awarded in December 2019. Bearing in mind it's all collaborative, everyone came on board, everyone shared all the details and IP and everything. All the different consortia shared all the information they put together in their proposals. We called it the discovery phase. And everyone discovered each other, what they'd done, shared. And so the collaboration was just phenomenal. When you see these really, really big players sharing information with the really, really small players in all the consortia, it was a terrific place. And everyone really got on board, really enjoyed it. And then COVID hit. Tough. That was tough. When you're launching a multi-billion-dollar framework built upon collaboration, everyone was co-located at City Water's headquarters. And we had to go and then try and do this remotely. It was a tough game. But anyway, we got to that position and, it was awarded as 10-year frameworks. And those 10-year frameworks halfway through now. And what I'm delighted to say is that they've just rolled over and confirmed the continuation of the framework. So the first 5 years, done. Second 5 years, confirmed to go ahead. So they've rolled over with the existing framework and the existing suppliers to keep the thing going. So the message we put in there at the beginning was set yourselves for the success, set your vision for 10 years, and let's go from there. And when we get to 5 years, so it was basically 10 minus 5. We said, if you're not there at 5, then we'll cut it. But set your sights on 10 years. And I'm delighted to say they've rolled over for the next 10 years.
Which shows success, doesn't it?
Really, really, really pleased. And sort of recognition of what's being delivered. And, it was global recognition for everything that was done. So hats off to the whole team and hats off to, City Water, Infrastructure, New South Wales, Treasury, IPAR, everybody that backed it and went forward. So again, it's all about working together and collaboration.
Awesome.
But that brings us to this podcast, doesn't it?
Amazing. And then you bring all this experience on the Metafig. Tell us a bit more about that. What makes you busy there?
Yeah, so it was on the back of like doing a couple of other engagements. We spent a year in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And then, I thought this is I need an opportunity to be able to engage around different locations. And when you're working with one business in one place, that seems to stifle the opportunity to be able to work around. Don't get me wrong, City Water was it almost felt like a consultancy operation, because the amount of interaction we had with all of the other water companies throughout Australia, coming to have a look and coming to engage, Water Corporation, SA Water, United Utilities, everybody, Urban Utilities, sorry, all came to have a look and got engaged and said, what are you doing? How are things happening? So those lessons and learnings could be shared. And we were really, really open. And again, that was lovely. So that gave me the inspiration to say, actually, I could probably do that as a job.
Of course.
So I set up Metafic. And Metafic is, the objective of Metafic is to be able to share the experience and the objectives and the goals and the vision of collaborative contracting, tie that in with program management. So looking at collaborative delivery frameworks for multi-billion dollar frameworks and infrastructure schemes, but it's sector agnostic. It doesn't matter. It can be road, can be commercial high-rise buildings, could be schools, could be water, could be power, transmission lines, all these sort of things. So it doesn't matter, and across the region. So we're active across Asia Pacific again, which is lovely. So I was in Hong Kong just recently, and off to Singapore in a couple of weeks, because they're all getting into the collaborative framework and collaborative mindset. And again, the way we structured the business is as a collaborative, collegiate environment, so that we've there's a core team. And we engage and work together. But we've got a collegiate network of probably around about 120 individuals now. So we're not about trying to shove a round peg in a square hole. We've got enough of a network that we find the right thing for the right client and the right situation, and we engage and offer there. So it's about what does the client really need, and not trying to just shove something in just to do a job.
Yeah,
it's about, we're really passionate. We want success for our client. Our client's successful, they're going to be happy, then they'll recommend. So that's how we work. And it's it's nice. It feels like a breath of fresh air to be able to have your own space to go and work in, and to be able to, I'd like to say pick and choose. There's a way to try and say it, but to be able to get around and engage across wherever you like, wherever it takes your interest, and whatever's in, you get a good opportunity for a relationship, and work together for something that's going to give benefit to the client, to the community that we're working with. It's a win all around. That's what that's what we look at. So no, Metafic is a terrific place to be, and I really, really love what I do.
Awesome. That's great. And now I understand why you have chosen this topic again: collaborative framework for complex infrastructure delivery.
It's a long title. That's a long title, isn't it?
It is, but it makes sense. Going through the whole journey and seeing all the benefits of how working in a collaborative environment could bring all the bits and pieces of the puzzle together and make something good happen. So, okay, let's dive into this one. So the topics that we have got here, the first one, where are we going to start first? Is it
top right?
Top right.
So I think that's clockwise.
It is.
Yeah. All right, we'll go clockwise.
Let's do this.
When you work around and do and trying to consult and talk about these sort of things, coming through with the case, and people don't understand what collaboration is. A lot of people get nervous because they get worried about thinking about collaboration is an alliance. No, that's a way of doing it. That's one way of doing it. There's plenty of other different ways you can go and collaborate. You can work under a D&C but still be collaborative in terms of how you're operating. But there's still, I think, still a lot of anxiety about someone's going to get something over on me. Someone's going to try and take something off me. how much information do I share and show?
Yeah.
And, again, you look at City Water now, and I have a supply chain expo that we kicked off, and like do that every year, sharing information, publishing their forward plans, really getting out there. So, collaboration is it's a mindset and it's a behavior that can work across all sort of aspects. But what we put here was about talking about what is the case for collaboration, and we'll work our way around in that way.
Yeah, sure.
So initially, I think you're looking at complexity. See how my writing goes and my spelling.
That should be fine.
So complexity is the first one. So at the moment, there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a huge amount of infrastructure that's being built. And after things went quiet in COVID and whatever, and then governments looking at recovery, infrastructure is a real big way to go and recover.
Oh, it is.
And there's things happening here. Like the Olympics and whatever coming up, and these are complex, mega projects. And if you stick to, quite often you see that because it's so complex, there's so many moving parts, there's no way that you can take something, throw something to somebody, say, you do this, you do that, and then not have a relationship to be able to work through and engage and discuss. So projects are getting much, much larger and more complex across the globe.
And then fragmentation. See, it makes it very quiet, doesn't it, when you're writing as well?
No, that's all right. That's part of the process. So.
And then, traditional process approaches and what have you, either adversarial in nature, but they do get into a position where they can get misaligned scope, misaligned objectives, misaligned behaviours. And once you get into that fragmented way of operating and delivering, you see people get frustrated. And it becomes a difficult little place to go and work. They're not doing what I wanted. Well, have you told them fully? Have you made sure they really understood? Have you checked in with them to make sure? So fragmentation and bits and pieces all over the place. And I think, they become inefficient when you work in that way, when you end up in a transactional correspondence type of way.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned about being adversarial.
Yeah.
And then
adversarial, it's if you're in a contractual sort of mindset and focus, although I'm not saying, when you're working under an NEC, for example, that's a hugely, that's a contract. And you need to follow it, and you need to see, it tells you what to do, but you got to follow the steps in terms of what you're doing. But when you get into a contractual standoff, and you just ended up sending letters backwards and forwards. And
does it solve the problem?
No, of course it doesn't. And it's an us and them. You win, I lose. I win, you lose. I mean, come on. There's got to. We're only here once. Yeah. So let's work in a way that we're going to get something beneficial. And again, like I say, looking at the infrastructure sector primarily, it's there for public good. So we want the public to win, and for the public to win, if we can all work together, you get better outcomes.
Absolutely.
So adversarial is a real sort of a barrier, an enemy.
Exactly. And the other sort of bit that I look at it is in terms of, so what are the benefits?
And the benefits really about getting shared goals so that we're working together, and that vision is painted at the beginning, and you know the direction that you want to go and head, and you have an approach that's going to take you there together. You integrate as a team, and again, that makes it a lot more efficient, that you're able to be, on the City Water framework, you had people from different companies and different organisations, the City Water team and the contractor team sat at the same table. So they didn't have to sit
there. It rarely happens, I should say. Particularly when it's government. I mean, in the government, they're very risk-averse. They don't want to really to accept that much risk, and that's why majority of the time that, as you mentioned earlier, that mentality of us versus them, or how we protect ourselves and our reputation, and also make sure that we're spending the taxpayers' money the right way. Not something that could be a little bit interesting, but but then how we could bring all these things together and still having a robust contractual framework, but work in a collaborative environment, isn't it?
And that's where it's, and these are the benefits that come out, but it's getting that trust and people being able to work in that way. it's tough. It's tough to take that first step, and it's tough to be confident enough that you can go and work in that way, which is why Medifix's here to help. And then you look at ways of doing joint risk management, and so being able to share the risks, and actually risks being owned by the appropriate owner. The traditional way that you just do that, all right, lump sum, all risk is on you. No way. And now with so much work out there that the supply chain is saying, we don't have to take that. We don't need to take that. So this gives the opportunity for, for the owner and government organisations to be able to be in a position of saying, we recognise this, and we recognise who's the best to hold that risk. And then you jointly allocate, and then you jointly manage the risk for the beneficial outcomes of everybody.
Absolutely.
So it saves getting ridiculously inflated prices where all risks are baked in. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, when the different service providers have to factor in all the risks, and surely they're going to consider something for unknown. This is where you, at the end of the day, when you expect everybody to accept all the risks, and all the risks will be factored in the final price, guess who's going to pay the price?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I suppose I'd much rather be in a position of saying, we've agreed that risk sits there. If it happens, we'll pay it. If it doesn't happen, we keep it.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of going, all right, you factor in the price, and if the risk doesn't happen, you get the money anyway. And it doesn't add up to me. Anyway, so that's really about what the case for collaboration is. So, and then people sort of say, so what is a collaborative framework? And
if you look at it in the true sense, it's really about structure.
And it's a structure that's enables organisations to really focus on being in a partnership. It's about how you pull together the teams in the right type of framework. So it could be an alliance. It could be an integrated project delivery team. It could be, you might even get down to the end where you do a D&C, but how you get there, perhaps using early contractor involvement.
ECI,
so an ECI process. These sort of things, these are all layers that build into collaboration. So people, like I say, people quite often think it's an alliance, that's it, and then get worried and nervous, don't know how to do an alliance. We all sign one contract. No, there's different stages and layers, and you pick the appropriate way to go and be collaborative for the right sort of project you're working on. So that was just a few examples of how they can be put together. So that was the different types of frameworks
that we mentioned. Look at that, Ryan's already terrible.
It is good.
So there was like an alliance, and there's like a ECI, and then there's integrated product delivery.
Sure. So just a couple of examples.
Of course.
And then when you think about a collaborative framework, it's really about having some core values. And the core values that we're looking at is really about being having trust, transparency, and having a collective vision and a collective approach to value creation. Again, projects only exist because you've got to do something. You don't have a project for not doing anything. So a project's there to create value, and it's a program is there to create value. So a collaborative framework is all about having that aligned approach, that aligned vision, and that aligned intent for creating value. And it's about getting value that is more than just the sum of the parts. You can go into traditional contracts and there's us and them, and there's two maybe equals 1.5. Whereas if you're in a collaborative framework, you can have 2 + 2 = 6.
Yeah.
Because you're getting so much more value, and it's you feel it within the people as well. That they operate in a different way. People go to much greater lengths, much further if they feel they're being respected. And so getting that sort of engagement and approach and respect out of the team is a lovely thing to feel.
Absolutely.
And then that brings us down to what do we look at as the key principles, really, of collaborative contracting. So as I've mentioned,
there's trust. And transparency. Cool, that's a long word. All right.
And so we're looking across the organisations that are part of these sort of frameworks, sharing information at all levels. Yeah. So it's about the executive, for example, being able to sit down together and work together in terms of combining their views and observations on how things are happening, and then give a joint steer towards a project instead of just waiting for somebody to go do this and go in that direction. No, you sit there and you evaluate and you look at what is the right and the best approach and the best option for taking the direction you want to go and work in.
Having integrated teams is a real sort of a core principle, because as I mentioned, being able to share that information and being able to do it in a way that's human.
Yeah. How many times have you written an email and someone's come back, that's not what I meant with that email.
It sounds very rough or sounds very angry, but no, it was just, put the wording into that. This is basically conveys the message.
It doesn't. So it's an art. It's a real art to be able to go and write an email or something that actually conveys your intent, your feelings, your meaning, because they can't hear your voice, they can't see your eyes. Yeah. So being integrated, working together, getting co-located is a huge benefit.
Oh, it is.
And it goes beyond just that transactional communication. It goes towards building, a bit like the time our army days.
Yeah.
You get you probably still keep in touch.
Yeah,
exactly. So left a long time ago, bloody hell. But yeah, still keeping in touch with people, and you get in a relationship because, as I said before, you're here once, so let's make the most of it. Have a good time, enjoy what you're doing,
of course,
and work together instead of fighting against each other. So yeah, get integrated.
Absolutely.
And then something I mentioned earlier was about joint risk. And joint risk management really is about looking and saying, the contractor's good at managing that particular aspect. The client is really, really good at managing this area, whether it's stakeholder engagement, whether it's integration with legislation and other agencies and governance that comes through from government.
Exactly.
Everyone's got their part to play. Yeah. So let's, instead of again trying to put all risk in one location and bucket, have a joint approach to risk management, where you engage it and you allocate it appropriately. And then because at the end of the day, again, infrastructure is my money. So I've paid my taxes. Yeah, exactly. It's all our money. So I want to see it used wisely and used sensibly. Yeah. And don't want to be paying over the top for risks that I don't have to go and pay for.
Of course.
So if it doesn't happen, then we should be able to keep it. That's a way of looking at it.
100%. And really place the risk and allocate the risk to the party who best placed to manage it properly.
Yeah, that's exactly
if they're not best placed to manage it properly, it needs to be allocated to another party, or you just have to use insurance or whatever risk mitigation strategy that we use to basically manage that. But yeah, you're 100% on the money, putting it all on the contract and expecting them to manage A to Z. It's not going to have a good outcome, isn't it?
No, there's some huge projects or whatever that have struggled recently. Just because things like being a geologist, which is lovely. So a bit of like geological risk is always that's a big factor, especially when you're doing things like tunneling or digging foundations. Something turns up that
it does.
That's why geologists always write could be, should be, maybe, if. They never write is. You can't totally be exactly right. And the next thing is about
looking at continuous improvement.
Sure.
And what I mean about OUS, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Improvement. Hopefully the editors can figure this out. And then
that's all right.
That's roughly there, I think. Continuous improvement. And the work as a key principle, it's about looking to say, again, we're delivering, we're doing what we're doing, but there's always opportunities for improvement. You can always do things better, like working with the Lean Institute, Six Sigma, these sort of things, looking for where are things being wasted? How can we cut that waste out? How can we work better together? How can we improve perhaps productivity? Maybe it's standardization on designs.
But again, when you're working in that collaborative way, you always getting that opportunity to suggest something. And what we really like is being able to give everybody the opportunity to improve. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a Sparky on the tools or a project manager or one of the comms team or an environmental consultant. Everybody's got a part to play, and everyone gets a chance to stick something in and suggest improvements to how we go and operate.
100%.
Yeah. And then is early alignment. And what I mean by, oh Christ, it's getting bad again.
What I mean about early alignment and involvement is really about getting these objectives aligned. So you've got to make sure that right at the beginning, and again, that is one of the ones that's a tough old thing quite often for a lot of, especially executives that are buying these sort of things. This is where they're probably may have been brought up in the adversarial sort of way. Yeah. And sharing and engaging and getting that alignment to begin, it's a tough thing to go and change. But think about it, it's like, if you and I are pulling on a bit of rope and we've got a brick we're trying to pull along. Well, if you're pulling in that direction and I'm pulling in that direction, we're not going to really move that brick, are we? So why don't we align and say, where do we want the brick to go? Yeah. That way, then we'll both pull together and go in that direction. So let's align together on what we want to go and achieve, and then we can align on how much effort do we put in. You're a bigger, stronger guy, so you can engineer, you can help, and we can work together in terms of how we go and pull things through. So these are some of the core key principles, and it's about building that early alignment. Also includes making sure that not only are the goals shared and across all partners, but also that you build it into the contractual framework. So you've got to make sure that the right use of the right sort of form of contract. So whether it's whether you use something like NEC is the useful contract, or FIDIC, they've got their new collaborative contracts out as well. So there are ways to be able to write this in contractually and make sure the principles are understood, and you sign on them, and you do a charter. So sign the charter, we all agree, and then we all know where we're heading.
So next one is success enablers. What's that one all about?
Well, what does success mean to you?
Well. I mean, we had another episode, and it was part of a conversation that what success exactly means. How do we define that, and what are the metrics to measure, and then come to the conclusion that okay, it has been a successful project. For example, in an earlier conversation, we were talking about like Harbour Bridge, or So once upon a time, when these projects were on, they were very out of budget, and they were very over the initial time. The same with Opera House. So at that point of time, if you wanted to go back and judge them at that point of time, they weren't successful projects per se, were they? They weren't.
No. But you look at it now,
but years and years later, when these are the iconic place that everybody comes to Australia to visit them. Yes. So how much money they have injected into economy is enormous. Yeah. And I'm sure at that point of time, when they were doing the business case for those two projects, these things weren't factored in because they had no knowledge about that. So it depends on what angle we wanted to look at it, and what KPIs are we measuring to come to the conclusion of is it a success or it's a miss or not. We could get different answers, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And so all those aspects that you mentioned of, and looking at the benefits of things and whether they went right or wrong during delivery, that is something that happens during the execution of a project. But what enables that success to happen? That's the thing, that in a collaborative sort of sense, how do you? Because we'd all much rather be successful than failures. Let's get it straight. Yeah. So when you're working in a collaborative way, what is it that really you're looking at? Some of the key enablers.
And I've already spoken about what early engagement means, but it's when you're looking at early engagement, it really is about
figuring out. You get the key parties right in early on in a project or in a contract, and to be out, and that's what I mentioned about ECI. It doesn't have to be an alliance or anything like that. You can use ECI. get them involved early, because we don't know all the answers. Nobody knows all the answers. So different parties will have different ideas, different solutions. It's like engaging specialist engineers or specialist contractors. Get them involved early, because they can help you pinpoint and highlight the things you're likely to run into later on. So let's not do things at the beginning and then give ourselves a world of pain later on. Get them involved up front and get them to play with you at the beginning.
Leadership.
Oh, yes. That's important one.
So what makes you suddenly go, oh, yes?
Everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
There's lots of courses around about it, but...
Yeah, I mean, so getting leadership buy-in.
Yeah.
And that's what I mentioned, because the leaders, the ones that are in the decision positions, if they're not bought into it, you're never going to get anywhere.
Absolutely.
And that's why I said I'm so lucky to have someone like Kevin, who's a massive advocate for what we're doing at City Water, and then being able to work with IPART and work with Treasury and all the other agencies to be able to take things forwards. When you've got the right leaders and they're bought into the approach and the process you want to take. And under City Water's collaborative framework, P4S had an executive that sat over the top that included the key executives from all of the key suppliers. So they were all together in a position of being able to demonstrate buy-in, demonstrate to their teams and all their people that they were part of this and they wanted this to work and go together. So once you've got your leaders saying, yeah, we can do this, that brings you all together as parties that are going to work. If you've got a leader that says, nah, we're not doing this, then the mandates are there. And
far away.
Yeah, exactly. No one's going to do it underneath.
Alignment of incentives. Align. We're probably going to have to edit this bit, aren't we?
That's all right.
Can't even bloody spell alignment. Let's do aligned incentives. So really, you're looking at here
Being able to make sure that your commercial model that you put together enables the, I think it's about having the reward collaborative focus, reward collaborative outcomes, and reward collaborative behaviours. And you want an incentive to be one that I want somebody to give me value. I want somebody to give me the best people they can. I want to be able to get the best outcomes. And equally, you can hear from them. I want this, I want that. And so let's make sure that those incentives are all aligned. Because again, like I mentioned to you about the brick before, you want to pull the brick that way, I want to pull it that way, then we're not aligned on our incentives. We got juxtaposition, so we're not going to get anywhere. Yeah. So let's get alignment and let's make sure we're all pulling together in the right direction, that everyone's going to get their value out of what we're looking to go and deliver, and build that into your commercial model. And then
getting the right cultural fit. And the cultural fit
is about making sure that that when you pull together the collaborative framework, that you're getting the right sort of partners that do have the right sort of values and the right sort of behaviours that you expect. Because if you've got early engagement, the leaders are bought in, and you've got the alignment of incentives, the culture is what makes that happen. It's the grease that makes all these
pieces
elements.
together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you need that cultural fit to be aligned with your vision, your values, and your expectations. Because if you have teams that don't have the same culture, don't want to work in the same way, you're setting yourself up for failure right at the beginning.
That is true.
So get yourselves aligned in that sort of way. So really, that's what we're building in terms of when you look at why to go and do it. What is it all about? What are some of the key principles? And then how do we what are the underlying parts that make all of this come together and the success enablers? But when I mentioned about the one of the biggest things is about building this culture.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, You got your experience. Again, pull it back to our time at Hatch. What was your experience there as a culture at Hatch?
That's interesting. Well, so I was employed by Hatch, but then we were working in a collaborative, I would like to call it collaborative environment with the Australian-based company Oricon. Right?
Yep.
So every party was supposed to bring something to the table. Oricon was supposed to bring the local content and local engineers to the table and the local workforce that they had. And Hatch was supposed to bring like the technology and the systems and the management and all the rest of jazz, basically. So, and that's why, for many, many years that they were working and collaborating together, they were really successful on lots of like mining projects. So, but yeah, I mean, there was like interesting conversations going on around, around the office, and because everybody was paid by a different entity, there was like different expectations or different sort of like chain of command, if you like, from each company like injected to there.
Yeah.
But I would say it was a really good and collaborative environment, because the companies really, these two companies could work together like for 10 years as I know, or even more than that on a mining sector.
And how good does it feel?
It feels great. It feels great. Still, we meet up, with the guys after surprise. We are, and that's really something that it's with us. So we just can't easily like let it go and go our own ways. We still catch up. We still talk about those times. And interestingly, some of the guys are telling me, you know what? We still haven't, after those times, we haven't been in any other organization that has that good feeling about like working together toward the same goal, achieving the same thing, like making milestones up and the rest of it.
Look at you smiling.
It says it all, doesn't it?
Yes, it really does. So yeah, it gives you good memories.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, building that culture is so critical to be able to get these things to operate and work. And I think by looking at the way I'm writing this, you're going to see how right-handed I am and like how tough it is reaching. But anyway, we're around to the left side of the board. And so, the steps in building the great culture that you just talked about and just said about how that experience goes, the first thing I really think about is about getting a mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is
that is getting everybody to understand that it's not just a contractual standoff, and we're not just doing something. I got my bit, you got your bit, and we're not going to engage. You've got to be able to work in a way that is in partnership. So, and it is a tough thing to work your way through. So building that culture, it really does take a lot of effort.
It does.
But the rewards that come out from it are terrific. But building that mindset shift from something that's contractual into something that is a genuine and true partnership, that is part of what you got to work through in terms of building that culture. And then you need to be able to
also work on capability build. And what I mean by capability build is
really being able to do that mindset shift and help your people on that journey. Because if you haven't been working in a collaborative framework or a collaborative contract or on a collaborative project, it is something that's nerve-wracking. So you've got to invest to build the culture. You've got to invest in coaching. You've got to train your teams. You can't expect it to happen magically. Because if you're trying to suddenly bolt 2, 3, 4, 5 organizations together, nobody's worked in a collaborative way before, well, it's not going to just happen by magic. It's like a relay team, isn't it? If they don't practice how to hand over the baton on the 100 meters and the 400 meters, well, it's not going to happen. They're not going to get a relay. They're not going to get together. They're not going to get around the track. They've got to practice, and they need coaching, and they need guidance, and they need advice. And that's really what you've got to be able to go and do to build the right sort of culture. You've got to look at how you build the capability. And to do that, you've got to train, you've got to coach, and you've got to encourage and build all the way through. And again, that recognition from the leadership right at the top that they recognize is an important thing to do and they're going to back it needs to happen right from the beginning.
Absolutely.
And that's where the client leadership comes in, because, if you look at clients, if the client doesn't ask for something, it generally doesn't happen.
And they don't get it.
No, that's exactly it. And
Ask and you shall receive. Isn't it saying?
yeah, that's exactly it. And so the client's got to be leading from the front.
Yeah.
So the client needs to be able to put in place that consistent messaging. This is where we'd love to go. This is where what we want to achieve. These are the benefits that we've already spoken about here that we want to be able to get out of this way of operating and working. But the clients have got to have it baked into them, built into them, that's what they want to go and achieve. Like I say, if a client says, I want you to do this and I have nothing to do with it, just leave you, build it, make it, then that's what the client's going to get. So
100%.
yeah, so it really does take building the culture has got to come from the client at the beginning. Like I say, it's about the messaging and it's about the models that you're putting in place.
And then really to make sure that the cultures happen, you've got to measure. And what I mean by that is
Measure how collaboration is happening so that you're not just doing the traditional sort of KPIs, KRAs that you're measuring. Have I laid this amount of pipe? Have I managed to build this many floors on this tower today? You're looking at actually not just the outcomes, because the outcomes are what you get from it.
Of course.
But there's stages and elements within the building of the culture that you've got to be able to demonstrate and measure. And, again, City Water was a great example, great case that when we got the framework more collaborative, got people working together, we actually topped the City Water Employee Pulse 4 years in a row. And it was just a great environment and people wanted to be able to be part of this. But we could not only measure the outcomes in terms of pulse, but we were measuring how teams were engaging and supporting and working with each other. So expectations of when they're going to do something, how they're going to do it, when they're going to get it done by, is a demonstration of how they're engaging and working together. So there are a bunch of different little metrics that you can put in there, but it gives you as the leadership as well, the chance to steer something. So if it isn't going right, you look at the measures and go, there's something there. There's something problem that gives them a chance to dig in and then do a bit of a course correction and a bit of a steer and move things in the right direction. So you've got to measure what you're doing. So it all sounds good, doesn't it?
It does. No, definitely should be measurable. I mean, if you're not measuring it, you're not managing it, obviously. And some of the things that are easy to measure, like, as you said, like how many floors or how many cubic of concrete you're pouring, that's really easy to measure. But when it comes to like cultural stuff, it's not that much straightforward to measure. But like indirect metrics, for example, as you said, like employee engagement, all of those metrics could easily indicate that, is it improving? Is it getting better? Or is it getting, where are we going with that? Maybe we cannot exactly say, the culture is 5% better. No, we can't probably say that. Say, how did you measure that? What was the way of measuring it? But I guess there are lots of other metrics around it that indicates that the company is heading in the right direction. Employee engagements are better. They stay with the company for long. There are lots of things that could be measured that indicates that, isn't it?
Yeah, and then there's the things you get out the other end is, reduced time off, less sick. Looking at people that actually want to be able to come in, want to engage, want to work, and productivity improvements, and just that general vibe that you get when things are going well. So building that culture, measuring the thing that you're doing is really key. But as I said, everything is all like rainbows, but actually, there's some pretty big challenges as well.
And what are the challenges?
I'm glad you asked me that. I've got some ideas. So the first thing I mentioned, and look at it, Mr. Right-handed. So it's about this resistance. Resistance to change. And sometimes it's
resistance to change is there because I just don't want to do it, and that's those sort of things are difficult to overcome. But other times resistance to change can come from the fact that somebody's just never experienced it before. And so I've got what I'm used to. I'm quite comfortable. Thanks very much. But thinking about moving to somewhere different it's a leap, quite often can be a leap of faith. So if you're not willing to take that leap of faith, or you're very, very risk averse in terms of, I'll get what I got. Whether I want to go and get something much better, don't know. But perhaps I can beat my contractors into doing better, and we'll see how it is. But well, no, that resistance to change is a real common challenge, and getting people to overcoming their traditional mindsets and to how they're delivering and doing things is a difficult thing to overcome.
And then like misalignment, misaligned incentives. If you
don't put in place profit motivations, can be at odds with collaboration. You can get into a position where one party has a particular focus, just want to be able to make a super mega profit out of something like that. That really isn't going to help in terms of getting the incentives for alignment if that's at the cost of somebody else. That's a I win, you lose type of position and situation. So having that misalignment between the incentives of the teams and the individuals and the parties, take you back to the brick, that sort of thing. You need to get that into a position where profit motivations and I win, you lose are not at odds with the intent for collaboration. So that's a real challenge as well.
Absolutely.
And trust. So trust barriers, where again a lot of this comes down to inexperience. If you haven't tried it before and you don't know,
do I trust you? Do I really get to trust you? All right, you don't have to take them on face value, but take the time, take the opportunity to get to learn something about somebody, get to understand who they are, and then you'll be able to get into a position of saying, can I put more onto this individual, onto this team? Can I trust you to go and deliver a bit further? But they're really, really difficult because, many organizations and individuals have their traditional approach and traditional history of the way they've operated has been adversarial. So being able to overcome that, being able to think, can I share information? Can we work together? Are they looking over my shoulder? Again, are they trying to get something over on me? It's not utopia, but it's about getting into a position where you can trust somebody within their remit and their environment to do their job and to do it for the good of the whole thing. It's a real challenge to work your way through.
And then stakeholder complexity. And when I looking at stakeholder complexity, we're almost there. It's a long word. Well, isn't it?
When I look at stakeholder complexity, I mean, there are a diverse array of stakeholders that are engaged, whether it's parts of the team or external stakeholders. We're humans, we're complex, and there's different operations and ways to go and be. And when you're looking at these diverse inputs, diverse groups that you've got to engage with, and many silos as well within organizations, that's a real challenge to be able to work through that complex environment, complex nature. And if you get one space, and I think ISO 44001 is the collaboration standard, if anyone's heard of it. And there's even an Institute for Collaborative Working in Australia. So I'd encourage people to come along. Actually, I think there's an open day. I think it's December. Right. So yeah, everyone's welcome. So it's free. So come along and get the chance to go and see what collaboration's all about and what the industry standard is all about. But it gives you stepping stones, gives you guidance and a real sort of roadmap into how to go and give me a shout if anyone is interested. But yeah, and that helps you with understanding what stakeholder complexity is and how you can overcome those challenges and getting the right mindset, the right people and the right approach to go and improve these things.
Absolutely.
So then, is it a reveal? Is it about saying, shall I show you? Because it all sounds lost. Everything we chatted about for
No, it's good. Look, we're going really great here, and sharing a lot of good content, and I'm sure our audience will appreciate that. So steps you can take.
Yeah. So steps we can take. I mean, what I try to do is just say, because it sounds big and it sounds like you've got to dive in with some massive change, but actually There are steps you can take. You can, if you're nervous and unsure, or feel it's a bit risky, you can take some small stepping stones in terms of how you work through this.
And initially, you can probably just sit down and review your contracts. And, you've got existing jobs that are happening and jobs that you're looking to go and let. And
you should get the chance to look what your existing frameworks are. What's happening? What are you delivering at the moment? And can you actually bring in, are you happy with it? Is it working? Is it delivering? Because when things aren't, quite often a client will look and go, right, I'm going to throw the whole thing out and get a whole new thing in place. Actually, is there a chance you can just have a look at the existing contract and the existing framework that you're working under, and perhaps just try and tweak it?
Yeah.
Just get in there and have a look and think, how can we be a little bit more collaborative with what we've already got? Because that might be what tips it over from being a struggle, being a problem, to being something that actually does what you envisage and hope for in the first place. So think about reviewing your existing contracts, jobs that are happening at the moment, and just cast a lens over those instead of a huge, big, let's change everything. And then
you can have a look at about building this relationship focus. And what I'm talking about in terms of a relationship focus
is trying to invest in some of those partnership capabilities and thinking about having the chance to be able to sit down and engage and talk to individuals, talk to them at that relationship level, as opposed to it being on that contractual sending letters, sitting back, 50 paces and then firing your shots at each other. Let's take it somewhere that you think about your relationship, think about how you're working with your supply chain. As I mentioned, perhaps under your existing contracts that you have in place, think about, right, what are the relationships I've got there? What are the relationships I've got with my team? What are the relationships I have with the supply chain? What are the relationships within our organisation? So take the chance to invest in some of these partnership and the management capabilities of your team. Then we start to, and these are building. So review your initial stuff. Now have a look at some of your relationships. Now perhaps have a look at,
you're taking this step up to what I call a procurement reform. That's supposed to be a U. There we go. Procurement. Oh God. And here in procurement reform
is really about embedding collaboration. So procurement reform is really about embedding collaboration and collaborative principles and criteria in selection.
Yeah.
So this, as I say, you're looking at the stages we're building up from here. We've gone to looking at your existing contracts that are in place. Is there a chance to cast a lens over those, see how they're working? Look at your relationships, how you're working with your supply chain, how you're working within your organisation. Taking the next step forwards is, well, if you've got something you're going to let, something that's coming in, something that's on a pathway at the moment, perhaps look about within that procurement process how you put collaboration criteria into your selection and think about how you work your way through. Doesn't necessarily have to be called out individually. You don't have to do workshops particularly just about collaboration, but actually put it into your overall procurement process. How are you checking them? How are you assessing? How are you looking? Are these the people I want to be working with on long term? But make it overt. Yeah. Don't be sneaky about it. This is about being collaborative and working together. So you can start thinking about building this into your criteria for selection. And then
really, a last little step can be doing some pilots. So pilot models.
And what I mean about pilot models is about, again, the city water thing is huge. I mean, we're talking billions, enterprise level. You don't have to do that. You can work on an individual project. You can start to take some samples and just to try. Let's give it a go over here. One project doing its usual. Now let's try the next one in a collaborative approach. So
See
you
how
can
it
start
goes.
piloting. Yeah. Again, you don't have to go. Start small and just try some collaborative experiments in the first place. So I think they're really, they're pretty easy. Well, not easy, but they're good, small, practical steps.
Yeah.
Review the existing stuff you're doing. Then have a look at how your relationships are focused. Then think about procurement reform in terms of how you're selecting for your next job. And then think about piloting. How you're going to be putting things forwards.
1 or 4, 2 projects, see how you go. And in particular, when we have got a like big organization like Sydney Water or any other like government organization like that, they have got projects that either some of them are in very early stages, some of them are in the middle, some of them are like in a commissioning stage, and some of them even haven't started. They just idea on a piece of paper. But then the good idea of doing pilot is that even you can do pilot like from range of these projects, the one that's like halfway through, fully in flight, the one that's in the business case, see how you go, what's the outcome, if things need a little bit tweaking, which always do that, and then apply to the next project and next project. And when you're confident, then roll it out to the whole organization, isn't it?
Yep, you're spot on. That's exactly it. So that brings us to, look, we finally got there. We're on the final box. It felt pretty good. I really enjoyed this. It's gone really fast. So look, if we wanted to sum all of this up and just give some give some key takeaways. If this is, you skip to the end of the whole podcast. Hopefully you got it so they can't skip. Anyway, so if you get to the end, so some key takeaways really are
make sure you fully understand the outcomes that you're trying to achieve and the value.
Yeah.
So, which means, what does actually success look like? Do you really make sure that as you thinking your way through this and what you heard, that you've got a vision, you understand a direction you want to head? What is it going to look like at the end? And what is the value you're going to get out of working in this in a collaborative way?
It's essential now. As I mentioned before,
There's so much work out there. There's so many things happening that people can pick and choose. And when you're struggling for resources and you're struggling for talent, most people I know would much rather work in a place where they're enjoying going into work, they're enjoying the relationships, you're working together, you're not getting frustrated and fighting and arguing. So think about how you operate and work, because there's so much work out there that people are picking and choosing, and things are getting so complex, as we spoke at the beginning. You're not going to be able to deal with major complex infrastructure, major complex projects without taking a collaborative approach. So it's an essential element to be working through now.
Definitely.
and mindset. Think about
What you're putting together. There are frameworks that exist and you can be working under. You can try and put an alliance together, but if you don't have the right mindset in place, it's still going to undermine what you're trying to achieve and what you're hoping to pull together from working in a collaborative way. So think about the mindset, think about the leadership being aligned and making sure that you've got the right approaches built into the frameworks you're developing and taking it forwards.
and then we talked about risk. Oh, there you go. I'm gonna put my hand. Oh, I'm gonna put my hand on there and rubbing it all out now.
So talking about risk, and this is about making sure that you've got it clearly mapped out, that you understand what your risks are, and you're understanding the allocation, and then you're putting the risk in the right situation, right position for those that are best to be able to go and manage that risk and control that risk. And that as an owner and as a public taxpayer and what have you, you're not paying over the top when you don't need to go and pay over the top.
Exactly.
And so then you're not having a bun fight at the end, arguing about what happened, why it happened, and how things occurred. You agree it up front. You really get the right framework in place, and you agree what you're going to be doing.
Governance. So, whilst not
Saying it out there in this, that is core through all of this. Making sure that you invest in a good governance structure and good governance by leadership that actually does support this way of working. And that's where it comes down to that management challenge, making sure people in the right sort of framework and right sort of mindset, and something that enables, and something that encourages, and something that opens people to engage and work together. Not something that stifles innovation, not something that stifles relationships, and not something that stifles success. So really ensure that you've got the right sort of governance in place.
And about value creation is our last takeaway. That working in a collaborative way
really is an opportunity to get real benefits from the way that you structure your contracts, the way that you select who you want to go and work with, the way that you share your objectives and vision, the way you build your pipeline of activity and work, and you build your communication protocols together, that you really do look at the the shared objectives and the benefits that you can get by making sure that the outcomes are aligned and that shared ownership is capable and can happen, and that when you get these sort of mindsets and things in place, that the shared ownership comes. You get a position where it's not just the owner owning, actually everyone owns the outcome. I mean, that's you hear it quite a lot in projects, let's all own the outcome. But actually, you do need to make that, and that's what comes. Value is created when you get people to be sharing an outcome, engaging and working together, and being part of a whole collective that works together.
Absolutely.
So hopefully I think that sort of like takes us on a bit of a journey.
It did. It was such a great journey to go through all the points here and having a great conversation. Mark, I would like to ask you, for the benefit of our audience also, have you got any book recommendation that you could recommend to our audience to have a look to?
Well, I think there was one that I threw, I think I mentioned partway through. So there's the IPMA, the International Project Management Association.
Yeah.
They have got a book that was released, I think maybe last year or the year before, that is all about the past winners of the IPMA Global Awards.
Okay.
And the reason I say it is because Sydney Water's in there for all the work that we went and did. But it's honestly, it's a terrific read though, that shows why winners were selected as winners and takes you on a journey through what they want to do. So it's got a few of the few little tips and tricks and hints and ideas. So no, definitely.
No, that's great. I'm sure that everybody will enjoy reading that one and get a better understanding about what it takes really to be on the list, and what those projects or those organizations have delivered to basically deserve to be on that list, which of course Sydney Water is on the list as well. We know that. So. Well, look, it was a really great conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for your time, and we should do it more often, I believe.
Yeah, give me a shout. Whenever you've got a spare slot, I'll come and fit in there, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.